thanks. Like, hey, Scoob, did you hear Nikki Blake is hosting a Scooby Doo panel? No. Yeah. Like on today's Scooby Doo episode, Scooby Doo and Shaggy meet Nikki Blake. Yeah, and a Scooby Panel. Like, we need to get this puppy started. Okay, Nikki Blake, take it away, Scooby Doo.
Welcome to the Scooby Panel. I'm your host, Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com, and today we're talking about our top 5 favorite Scooby Doo Where Are You episodes. Before we begin, I'll have everyone introduce themselves, and Wendy, will start with you.
Hi guys, I'm Wendy BRYDGE. I'm a commissioned artist and I've been collecting Scooby for over 30 years.
Joel?
Hey there, I'm Joel from the YouTube channel Plant Scooby.
So we're talking our top 5 Scooby Doo Where Are You episodes, and Wendy, I'm gonna let you start. We're gonna start from our first, just in case someone else mentions it, then at least it'll,
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there might be an overlap here.
Yeah.
So my number one, I'll be honest, my 2 to 5, given on the day, I could rearrange them, but my number one is set in stone. It is absolutely my number one, and that is A Night of Fright is No Delight. I do think that that is like the quintessential for me, most perfect Scooby episode. I did realize thinking about this the last few days that there's a very strong possibility that either this is why I love House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price so much, or that I love this because I love House on Haunted Hill, because that's my favorite movie of all time. So I'm not sure which actually came first, but yeah, they remind me of, each other. So obviously this is going to be my top of the list. I don't know that there is anything about this episode that I would change if I had the power to. I cannot think of one single thing, even that horrible facsimile of Scooby-Doo that they built out of like vegetables and fruit and put in that bed. It's so ridiculous, but I wouldn't change it though. Because it's everything that it needs to be, right? It really does. It doesn't need to be anything else. It's perfect just the way it is. So yeah, that's definitely like an 11 out of 10 episode for me. It's one of the scariest episodes of Scooby, which I love a scary Scooby, but it's still got some fun things in it. Kind of took that dark turn with those coffins. And then even though they turn out to be dummies, I feel like seeing a body in a coffin is that's a very strong visual for anybody, but even for little kids. So I wonder if more of Where Are You would have been like A Night of Fright is No Delight had they not decided that from the beginning, like, this is a little bit too scary and we need to tone it down a little bit. I wonder if we would have got more of that imagery that we see in this episode that we don't really see in the other ones. And I kind of I wish they would have explored that, because again, I love this episode. Number one, no one's ever going to convince me that there's a better Where Are You than this one. So like, this is not just, because I feel like there can be a difference between your favorite episode of something and what you think is the best of something. They don't necessarily have to be the same. For this one though, yeah, my favorite, but I also think that it's the best one too.
I have this one for number 2. I love the story on this one, and the background art for this one I think was the best of any of the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episodes. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I would change is the noise that the phantoms make. Like, not the chains, but their noise is it's too much. But the Scooby dummy should have been a plush, because that would have been cool.
Oh, that would have been cool.
We talked about this in a different panel, but yeah. Joel, what's your number one?
Mine is also A Night of Fright is No Delight. I can't really add much more. What they cram a lot into this episode too. Like, they get this far and then they have like all these new tricks, which is awesome. Like, they got the piano, you gotta play the piano for the trap door, and they got the coffin-shaped dog too, or the dog-shaped coffin, which I loved. Um, Confederate money, the will, Scooby saving a life. Just a lot going on in this. Those cool relatives, which have the funny names that kind of deal with dark things and death in some cases. Just overwhelmingly awesome. And I do like the noise the ghosts make.
I don't like weird noises, so I think I have a problem with a lot of the villains because of that.
Mm.
Yeah. My number one, What a Night for a Night, it's the original. I mean, they had so many different things in there. You know, they destroyed the museum. They started with Scooby snacks in this one. Velma lost her glasses. You know, it was, I have to go with the original. It's the best. I love the Black Knight. I kind of wish that they would have put him in a castle as opposed to a museum. I think that that would have been better, but I love medieval things, so I really liked him. Scooby finding the glasses and then he just pops up out of the back of the mystery machine and he's wearing them. That was like so cute. The mystery machine had so much stuff in the back of it that we've never have seen really in anything else except for What a Night for a Night. My favorite scene was when Scooby stole the dinosaur bone and then the whole like dinosaur collapsed on him. And then the Black Knight showed up and he like threw the bones up in the air and it recreated the dinosaur. And then he was like, "Rye, rye," and he ran away. It was sort of like spooky because Daphne had mentioned that they found blood.
Well, if that's blood, that's a clue.
And it's like, ooh, blood. Like, this is a kid's cartoon. That's not cool. And then Fred just like touched it and he's like, nope, it's paint.
It's paint.
We got to see Scooby the painter, which is really cool. And then we learned that Shaggy is the swingingest gymnast and that he's a ventriloquist. So we learned a lot about Shaggy. So that is my number one. Yeah. Your number two. Joel.
Oh, number two for me, and it's not really because of the plot, it's more because I love this villain and I love the setting. Spooky Space Kook. I love the glow-in-the-dark footprints. Like the farmer at the start with the gun. I think this is the only episode in Scooby we see a gun. I don't know why I'm stuck on that, but just people with guns disappear after this. So it just stood out. I don't think I love that actually, just something of note. The spaceship's really weird, but who cares? Looks like a shuttlecock from like badminton or something. But yeah, just it's more because of the villain, and I like the noise he makes.
I also dislike his noise, and it's somewhat similar to the Ghost of Vasquez Castle. I feel like they use the same noise for part of his thing.
Yep.
It's similar for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wendy, your number two?
So again, this could change depending on the day, but for right now, I would put it my number two, Never Ape an Ape Man. I don't know what it is about this episode that I love so much. And this is an interesting thing that we can maybe talk about later, but just to touch on it briefly, it is very interesting to analyze specifically where are you after we've seen a whole bunch of other Scoobies, and to think about like the settings that they chose. And for me, Never Ape an Ape Man, for some reason, it's not, but it feels so like removed from the typical Scooby setting, which it shouldn't, because they also go to a circus randomly, which how is a circus really any different than a movie set? It's not. But there's just something about this one that it almost feels like its own thing to me. I don't know how better to explain that, but I love that we get to see one of Daphne's relatives, and just the graphics of the film set and, you know, all the cameras in the background and stuff. And of course, this is one of like the prime examples where we get to see like brave Scooby, where Scooby doesn't need any Scooby snacks. Candy Mint is in trouble. The Ape Man, I mean, I would argue that the Ape Man is actually a fairly scary looking villain. I don't know. When I was a kid, I thought that was kind of a scary looking ape. I found him to be very intimidating. I don't think of him as like a cheesy type monster. I think that he works for what he is. And to see Scooby standing up to him and just like not backing down. And we get that very cool scene where Scooby's like bouncing up and down off of the branch on the side of the cliff and, you know, kicking him and punching him and everything. And then paf, and he pushes him off the cliff. Don't know how Carl the stuntman survived that, but it's okay. We're not going to talk about that. But yeah, I don't know. I love that scene too, where for me, it's like the quintessential, these are teenagers, which for me gets lost, to be honest, because I think of them as being older than they are because they're so mature. But that scene where they're in the mansion, I guess it was a mansion, like the prop mansion or whatever the heck, and they're like sitting around in a circle on the floor. Shaggy's like laying on his stomach and he's like kicking his legs a little bit, and like everyone is sitting in their own pose. And to me, I see that and I'm like, it's a group of kids and they're doing something, I mean, fun. I don't know if they were having fun or not, but I love it. I love that episode. The Scooby in the mirror that isn't actually a mirror, it's the Ape Man. I mean, how did he not notice that like the brown cut off here? Who knows? But it doesn't matter. Great visuals. Love that we actually get to like see the moment where Shaggy figures out who the Ape Man is, and he doesn't freak out about it, and he's just like, let's go, we got to go tell them. And I don't know, that I think that's the only time that we get that kind of an ending to an episode, where someone figures it out, like sees for themselves, and then, I mean, I guess there's still a reveal for us, but they've already had the reveal. I don't know that there's another instance of that in any of the classic Scooby episodes. So it's kind of just like it fits in the Scooby world, but I don't know. I find that one is like special enough that it's also very much, it's just its own thing for a whole bunch of reasons. But another, like, I would give it like 10 out of 10 for sure.
I have never Ape and Ape Man for my number 4.
Okay.
And like, just some of the weird things that I noted. Shaggy was going to eat half a hamburger that was just sitting on the floor. And then Scooby did end up eating it. We did get Shaggy snacks in that one. And my favorite part of that one was at the end where Scooby's wearing the ape mask and Shaggy's wearing the Scooby mask. That was cool. My number 3 is What the Heck's Going On? Just because I thought it was really spooky, like the opening with Uncle Stuart walking like a zombie and then he's turned into an old man. And I just thought that was really kind of creepy. I like that the mansion in this was the one from the intro. I always like to see, and there was a bunch of stuff from the intro, but I always love to see the stuff in the episode that was in the intro. I like that they dusted for fingerprints. Like they were real detectives, but it's like they're looking for a ghost and they dust the doorknob for fingerprints, and they're like, well, ghosts don't have fingerprints. And
use Velma's fingerprinting kit and dust for prints.
Freddy, we got something. Wait a minute. Ghosts wouldn't leave fingerprints.
yeah, that was great. That's like one of the first times we really see them doing something detective-y, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking for clues, but they're not, doing stuff like that. This was the first episode where Scooby Doo was hyphenated. At the end, Scooby ate the turkey, and then Shaggy lifted the lid off of the plate, and it had that sign, Scooby Doo was here, and Scooby Doo was hyphenated.
Interesting. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then the unmasking was funny, and Wendy has pointed this out before, but they wipe off Uncle Stuart's face and like they wipe off the makeup and he's wearing his glasses, like he was wearing the glasses under the makeup. So, yes. So that is my number 3.
And let's also point out, this did not make my list, but this is a very special episode. And I'm going to mention this because there's a brand new meme going around on Facebook right now. And I'm like, where have you people been? You are so far behind. Yes. Look at what the heck's going on and look at Dark Shadows and tell me that there is not a correlation there, because that house is Collinwood. The ghost of Elias Kingston is totally Barnabas. You just look at them side by side, clearly modeled off of Barnabas in some way, shape, or form. There's a whole bunch of parallels between them, which just makes it even better because Dark Shadows is like one of the best things ever too. So Dark Shadows, Scooby Doo mashup, there it is. But yes, for anyone that is like right now, like, oh my God, I didn't know. Well, I don't know where you've been. I really don't, but.
I did just see that meme yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy, what is your number 3?
Okay. Yeah. This is a solid number 3 for me. It would have to be Hassel in the Castle. Another one where the gang are out. I mean, they spend a lot of time in boats in this show, which for teenagers is kind of interesting, but I also love it. Another one that I would consider to be on the scary side rather than like a more lighthearted, although there are definitely some really great lighthearted moments in it. I don't know, because I'm actually not old enough either, but I feel like there are some shticks in this episode that anyone from the time period, like they would be things that are somewhat recognizable. The talking skull, and Shaggy's like, which way did they go? And he's like, they went that way. He's like, oh, thanks, man. It's all right. I feel like that's something that it was, I don't know, it was said on, I don't know if it was just like a thing that they said or if it was from something in particular, but it reminds me of its time period. It's a lot of fun. The ham sandwich that appears out of nowhere, which I guess was more magic. Interesting that Bluestone just happened to have the lettuce and the whatever. But again, it doesn't matter because it's just so great to see it. And I think this is also the episode where we get at the beginning when they're on the ship and Shaggy is down below making his sandwich and Jerk Scooby like steals it right through the window and then leaves him the olive and then eats that too. And you're like, really, Scooby? Like, we love you, but that wasn't nice. You should have shared that with your friend. You didn't need to take it. But yeah, again, all around great. One of my favorite moments in all of Scooby Doo, and it took me years to see this. They're wrapped up, the mystery's over. They're explaining how Bluestone was doing things. Freddy's like, okay, well, there's one thing that we couldn't figure out, though. How did you walk through that solid wall? And Bluestone, who is still in his like ghost outfit, just minus the hood, is like, that was one of my best acts. Let me give one last performance. And he has slipped his ropes like a magician. And he just like hands the ropes to Fred. And Fred's just like, and then he goes off and he demonstrates it, and the police let him and they let him and everything. And he's just hunky-dory. But like the fact that it took me so long to get the joke of he's a magician and he slipped his ropes in front of the gang and the police. I just love that. And that look, that dumbfounded look on animated Fred, like near and dear to my heart. I love it. Again, I don't know that there's anything that I would want to change about this episode. Another kind of random thing, but I love the portrait of Vasquez the pirate that's on the wall. That is like one of my favorite things to do now if I'm watching Scooby, is like I'm always on the lookout for painted portraits on the walls. And the Vasquez one is like, I think my favorite. but they really did a nice job painting that. It's into the background. It's fantastic. Yeah, I love this episode, and for a while, this I would have probably said was my number one years ago, but it's come down a little bit, but it's still a fantastic episode.
I had that one on my list, but I took it off because I don't really like the villain.
Oh,
I mean, he's okay, but I feel like they could have done something better in a castle.
yeah. I guess he is just a plain sheet ghost at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But we do get that John Wayne scene, and their attention to detail where, you know, Scooby's like, he does this, and the ghosts, like his sheet moves a little bit. Like, that's attention to detail by the animators that I think is really cool.
Yeah. You bringing up the skeleton reminded me of What the Heck's Going On. There was the scene where Uncle Stuart was a skeleton. It was a skeleton wearing his clothes. And Velma made a comment that that's as old as you can get.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really funny. Joel, what's your number 3?
My number 3, the only episode I have that hasn't been covered yet. Scooby Doo and a Mummy 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No. I'm just as surprised as everyone else. But I love the concrete Scooby in this. I like the lore they have behind the mummy. I think the episode's better than the Universal Monsters Mummy, the first one, which is mostly just Dracula retold. Basically, it's a love story. You only get like a minute of the mummy actually in it, and the rest it's not really the mummy. So I think this did a better job. The mummy's scary. It's fun. I like the atmosphere. They go to the shop too, and he hands them that coin, and there's that kind of playfulness with that. It's just overall, just a creepy, fun, good episode. I guess I just have a soft spot for it.
I did like Mummy.
Yeah.
They did a good job with him.
The real mummy at the end, though, where it's just randomly like propped up against the wall behind some plants. That mummy is that's like Johnny Quest level mummy right there.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. My number 4 was Never Ape and Ape Man. Wendy, what is your number 4?
So my number 4 is the Backstage Rage. Another one that I would put on like the scarier episode types. I love how many characters are in this, even though they're not really real because they're just like they're puppets and everything. This also has like what I would I don't know how you would say it. I think the proper terminology would be suspension of disbelief, where we see the little Johnny puppet like doing things, like he opens his eye and he looks and everything, and that would not really be happening even if the doorman, you know what I mean, like he'd have no reason to do that. So I don't know how to explain why I love that so much, but and the fact that the guy took the time to like make a puppet of himself, like a life-size puppet of himself. I want to do that now. I want a life-size puppet of myself. I don't know what for, but I totally want to do that. Great visuals here. The scene where Shaggy and Scooby are in the back of the theater and they're rooting around, and then Shaggy like pulls the cloak on and he's like, "Look, Scoob, the cloaked cavalier." And Scooby looks back at the doorway and the actual villain is standing there and he's dressed just like Shaggy. I don't know if it's the musical cue that is overlaid over that or what it is, but that is like one of the scariest moments in Scooby for me. It still gives me the creeps every time that I see it, even though I'm expecting it. Fantastic atmosphere here. I thought it was a lot of fun. They get into a lot of things there. I don't know. It's great. I even like the little poodle puppet at the beginning because she's so cute. I don't know. Again, this is one that over the years has been like way, way up there on my list for a little while, may have even been my number one, but it's just a great one. It's fantastic.
Joel, your number 4?
Same. Backstage Rage. Just I can't add anything. It's just a great, perfect episode. Spooky. So
It
good.
was spooky. Yeah. All right, Joel, what is your number 5?
5, it's been covered. Hassle in the Castle.
Mm.
And I had that pause because I was like alternating between 2 of them.
What's the other possible? Well, tell us about why Hassle in the Castle, and then tell us your other one.
Hassle in the Castle, just you got the ham sandwich, of course. The atmosphere mostly. I would just love to go in that castle and explore. And they have all these artifacts. I'm like, was life really like that in the 60s? Could you actually still do that back then? I don't know. Probably not, I'm guessing. Maybe in the 40s you could, but I don't know about the 60s. I don't even know. I'm just speculating. It's just the atmosphere and just me wanting to be there. But yeah, the ghost isn't the strongest compared to all the other ones, like the look of it, but I still like it. And I think while this one is scary, I got a nephew, he's a bit of a sissy, and he could watch this one because the ghost wasn't too scary. He was terrified of Legend of the Vampire, that movie. Yeah, like that terrified him as a kid.
Okay.
But this he could watch, so maybe that's why I'm sneaking that in there.
And what is your alternate?
Oh, What a Night for a Night. It's just where it all began. And I think a lot of people might not have it on this because they've just seen it so many times because it's like one of the most, it was on every VHS tape, every DVD. They slap it on every movie somehow. Actually, I think Hassle in the Castle has it more times, but What a Night for a Night is just kind of memorable because you got that night that comes live during a full moon, and somehow there's like a full moon 2 nights in a row, which technically impossible. But I'm not going to argue with them because we get more night out of it.
Yeah. Wendy, your number 5?
Okay, just one final word on Hassle in the Castle. The fact that Scooby can spell. And we see it so early in the series. I don't know why. I was watching it today and I was like, oh my gosh, because they pick up the map that's on the beach and it says danger on the back, and then Scooby like spells it out and then he reads it like he knows what it says. I don't know why that just like tickled me so much, but I was like, that is, yes, Scooby can spell. Because dogs can actually spell, so.
I liked how he took the paper and like in his mouth and flipped it around for fun.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 5. I'm surprised that neither of you picked this one, to be honest. I thought everybody was going to pick it, but Foul Play in Funland. Love this one. Maybe a little bit of my love for it comes from the level in the Super Nintendo Scooby Doo game where they are at a circus. Now, obviously, it's not the same villain or anything, and it's a totally different story, but it's creepy as heck. Was obsessed with that game when I was a kid. I loved that level. The musical cues with like the circusy stuff and everything. So going to the amusement park, I don't know, they're not the same thing, but the vibe of it is so similar. And again, there's just so much visually to look at. All of the background art in that as they're like moving through the park, places with food, places with mirrors, places to do all of these cool things. Very, very fun. And also really impressed how there's a few scenes where like all you see is like little like the lights that are around the Ferris wheel and all of these things. Like it's nothing. It's very nondescript. It's like a dark background, and then you just see the outline of all of the things in the amusement park as these pinpoints of light. and it's so basic, but it's so effective. And I don't know, I love that just visually. I think that that's fantastic. I don't really know how I feel about the villain in this one because I find him scary, but he's kind of like the quintessential non-villain villain because it's just a robot. Like it's not making choices or anything, and it's not doing it for any particular reason. I guess maybe we could argue that the real villain was Sarah for tampering with him and causing a problem instead of just telling her brother straight up, like, hey, I don't want to do this. But of course, at the end, when they fix Charlie and then he's like scratching Scooby behind the ears, and it's just such a cute scene. And they've even made him smile. Charlie's got like a little smile while he's doing it. So, but primarily that episode for me is just like all of the visuals are so good. The games that they're playing, they get the Cupid doll, everything about it. And I don't like amusement parks. I don't want to go to the amusement park. I have no desire to do any of that stuff. But watching the Scooby Gang do it was fantastic.
I didn't choose that episode because I feel like Charlie is not really a villain. I mean, he's designed well, but he's not a villain. So my number 5 is That Snow Ghost. We get to see the gang in their winter outfits, and everyone loves their winter outfits. Considering outside there's a lot of snow, the backgrounds were really good, I think. I mean, it wasn't just like piles of snow. You saw trees and you saw a rock and you saw, all this other stuff. Velma was kidnapped in this one and tied to a log, and Scooby didn't even think twice. He came to her rescue, tried to figure out how to get her, like, cut the chains, realized he couldn't do it. She said, be like a beaver. So he messed with his teeth, gave himself beaver teeth, and he chewed through the log and he saved her. And then the snow ghost tried to blow them up with dynamite. So like this, if you really think about it, like this, in this episode, he tried to murder them twice.
Yeah.
And then, well, technically 3 times because he tried to throw Scooby off the cliff. Yeah. And then Scooby on the clear skis at the end was just too cute. So yeah, that's Snow Ghost. I don't even really like him as a villain. Like, he's not one of my top villains, but I just thought that the rest of it was good enough to make my top 5.
Yeah, I agree with that. See, I don't like the sound that he makes, though. He's the one that I'm just like, no, you don't need to make any noise if that's what you're going to sound like.
I thought it was weird that he could fly. And then he's in the air. But then they're like, well, he used clear skis to fly. And it's like, but the skis are on the ground and he was in the air.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense.
Did he do like a ski jump though? And
It must have been.
He might have, but he still flew for quite a long time. So yeah, it was just weird. So I wanted to talk about, how does the show manage to be both spooky and lighthearted? Joel, your thoughts on that?
I think I might be reading too much into it, but I think they just kind of copied the template of Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein or any of those monsters. And if you take out the comedy in those, you get a straight as heck, all heck horror movie, right? Like, those movies are scary if you take out Abbott and Costello and their reactions to the monsters. And I think the people who wrote Scooby Doo, drew Scooby Doo, they kind of grew up on these movies and kind of used that as a template. And they probably loved these as a kid, and they're like, well, let's just kind of work off of that. This is a kid's show. These movies with Abbott and Costello were for kids. I guess so were Universal Monsters, but I don't know where I was going to go with that. maybe they weren't as scary as Abbott and Costello meets them. Like they were far more scarier in those Abbott and Costello than they were in their own movies, I think. Except the Wolfman. I think that one's pretty scary. But yeah, I just think they copied that template, not copied, but worked off of that. I think they improved the formula. Although I love those Abbott and Costellos, I think, there's only 3 of them, and Scooby Doo Scooby Doo Where Are You had so many episodes where I think they improved upon it and innovated on it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's all I got. I'm rambling. I'll shut up.
Wendy, how do you think the show managed to be both spooky and lighthearted?
Yeah, I think Scooby more than anything else, especially in that season 1, did that to perfection, where it is scary, but it's not so scary that you can't watch it if you're little. I think it's just see, this is what I don't like about later Scooby, is I feel like they did not understand Scooby's humor. They think that they do, and then they just like exponentially make more funny. And it's like, okay, you're losing it, because the balance between the humor and the scary stuff, especially in season 1, I mean, it is like a very precarious balance here. And as soon as you deviate away from it, it's not Scooby anymore to me, because they definitely I feel like through the majority of classic Scooby, even the scrappy stuff, like the half-hour episodes where it's like a traditional mystery with the gang, I think that they still managed to do that, where they balance things that were funny with like a little bit of dark and scary. I think a lot of the dark or scary stuff is coming from the music, because we did a panel about the music of Scooby, and Nikki sent us all of the cues from the show, and I listened to like just Scooby audio for days, and I was so just blown away with how integral those sounds were to those episodes, where the sound that the music cue was making is preparing you for something. And maybe that is where a lot of that balance is coming from, is that there's no jump scares in Scooby. There's no jump scare. You might not know what's coming, but the musical cue prepares you with enough time for you to register that, oh my gosh, there's the scary music, something's going to happen. And then it happens. And I think that that can help temper how scary or dark it comes across to whoever is watching it, especially if you're little, because little children are crazy perceptive. I have no doubt that all of the little kids learn those musical cues by heart, and you hear like 2 beats of it, and you know exactly what that musical cue is telling you is coming. So I think that having that it's not that you're not being surprised, you're just not being startled by it, which, I mean, the whole point of a jump scare is that the startling is part of the scare for you. It doesn't even matter whether the thing that's happening is scary. If it is a jump scare, they're trying to startle you into a reaction. And so by not doing that in Scooby, I think right then and there, that balances that dark or spookiness or whatever it is. And then you've got humor that I would call incidental. Shaggy and Scooby are not trying to do funny things. They're not trying to be stupid or silly. They're just living their life, and these funny, unfortunate things are happening to them. And that is a sign of excellent writing. If you have to write the joke into the character and you're forcing them to do it, that's poor writing to me. That's not comedy writing. And I will argue until I'm blue in the face and dead that Scooby is not a comedy. There's humor in Scooby, yes. The humor is integral to Scooby, yes. I would never in a million years classify Scooby Doo as comedy, though. And I think as soon as you make it a comedy, it's not Scooby anymore. It's no, you need that dark spookiness to make it Scooby. And season 1 definitely, even in season 2, they backed off on the dark and the scary a little bit more by adding in the songs, which they're great. I'm not complaining about them, but it was something that further tempered down that dark aspect of the show. But I mean, again, there are some like dark themes once in a while. A bunch of coffins, actual real peril to the gang, like Nikki just talked about in that snow ghost. I mean, if those situations were real, crazy dangerous. But because of the way that they're balancing that humor within the show, and they're using the sound that you're hearing to temper things and prepare you for them, they can get away with putting the gang into like serious peril. And it's not really registering with you until you get older and you're watching it with a more critical eye, that like, oh my goodness, that really, like, they really could have died in that situation if it was real. And the writers were just so great at finding that balance that I really don't think that any little kids were watching Scooby and like crying because Velma nearly got sawed in half. I really don't think that there was any little kid on this planet that even registered with them how dangerous that situation was. So they have, you pick your spooky elements, you pick your dark elements. Villains in and of themselves are dark. They're committing crimes. They're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. You add that like monster or spooky ghost element to it. But then you've just got these characters that they're so lovable. And even though Shaggy and Scooby are obviously very scared all of the time, the fact that the other 3 members of the gang really are not, I mean, it's not like we never see them get scared. They do, but not to that extent. I feel like that also helps the kids that are watching it to not be like overtaken with that like dark aspect of it. Because they're seeing Fred and Daphne and Velma just being rational about stuff. And even in the moments where, Velma gets scary or gets scared, it happens in Hassel in the Castle when they see the ghost, it's still, they very quickly move on from it. And that to me is like, it is all about the balance, but I do not think that you can achieve that balance with mediocre writing of the story. And that's why it doesn't really work in any show other than Scooby. They tried to emulate it. I mean, how many, what would we call them, Scooby clones there were? And they just don't work that way because they've got the pieces, but they don't know how to put them together. And the writing and how people are framing it, the storyboard artists and everything, how they're choosing to bring it to life, that is where your balance is. And either you've got it or you don't, because someone can bring you all of the ingredients to bake a cake, but if you don't know how to bake that cake, nothing that you make is going to be, it might be edible, but it's not going to taste very good. So the people that worked on Scooby, they had the recipe to make the cake. They knew how to put all of those ingredients together, and they did it like spot on in season 1 of Where Are You? And no one ever replicated that again.
I think with that Snow Ghost, they didn't really focus on showing Velma chained to the log and the blade.
Right.
It's like they went back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of made it a little less scary that kids could watch it, because they weren't seeing her get closer to the blade like on a continuous basis.
Right.
I think they tried to use the laugh tracks to like tone down the spookiness, and that was just a little bit irritating to have the laugh tracks, and I'm glad that they got rid of them like halfway through season 1. I definitely think the background art helped to bring in that spooky, because a lot of it was dark. There were cobwebs, there were paintings with moving eyes, and this, even the signs that would usually be like broken, and I think they did a really good job with the background art, bringing in the spooky elements. And then in was it A Clue for Scooby Doo, there was the mouse.
Mm-hmm.
That was like something that they used to kind of break up the spooky, to bring in something funny, lighthearted. So I think that's how they were really able to balance that really well. And there were some jokes. I mean, in What a Night for a Night, Shaggy was cracking some jokes. I felt like it kind of was ruined by the laugh track. Even though, I mean, I know a laugh track is there because they want to make you, like, that's your cue to laugh, but I would have laughed anyway, and I didn't, like, the laugh track was just kind of like, wait, why is that doing that? But yeah, I think they did a great job balancing the two. Final thoughts on our top 5 Scooby-Doo Where Are You episodes. Joel?
I'm not surprised about the overlap.
I knew that there would be some overlap, and I actually thought that Foul Play and Funland would have been on your list too. It's fine that it's not, but I did
There's so
think
many to pick from. If we did this like another week, could have been on there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I might have had different ones if we waited another week.
I think I went for anything I didn't have a mask for. I'm like, a message to Trick or Treat Studios. It's massive. The green ghost and the space kook.
Yeah. Wendy, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the worst Scooby-Doo episode is still better than 99% of everything else out there, especially what they're making today. I'm glad that there was a bunch of overlap with the ones that we liked the best. But again, like with both of you, I didn't think I was going to have as much trouble choosing this list as what I did, because I started looking at the episodes. I'm like, oh, I really love that one. Oh, I like that one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What about that one? Scooby-Doo and a Mummy too. It crept up to my list. I knew it wasn't going to go on it, but it crept up to it because I started thinking more about it. And I'm like, no, that is actually a really good episode. But yeah, no, I know that there's a big Scooby fandom, but I feel as if I'm going to get into trouble. I feel as if the fandom has turned into something that is just merchandise based, and that the respect for the show is not there in most people, because you can like something and not have any respect for it. People they really don't care anymore the quality of what is being put out with Scooby's name, whether it be a show or a movie or merchandise. They don't care. It's indiscriminate now. They're just like, oh, okay, well, as long as it's Scooby. And I'm like, I don't feel that way about anything. If you start messing around with something's integrity, I don't want it, because it's not what it is anymore. And so I'm disappointed and surprised that we have come around to that. So I'm hoping that people will start watching it more with a more critical eye, so that they can come back to that appreciation of just how exceptional this show is. Forget about Scooby the mascot, forget about Scooby the merchandise. Watch the show, go back and watch something classic, and appreciate the amount of work and effort and time and passion that clearly went into making it what it was. because that was not just like a bunch of guys sitting down on a weekend being like, cool, what are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then puking out something and, oh, cool, there it is. Like, no, that's not what Scooby was and not what Scooby should be, even though I kind of feel like that's what it's become. So go and watch the episodes that we've mentioned, but like watch them with a more critical eye. Look at things. Listen to the musical cues. Pay attention to the jokes that are being told without someone having to tell you, hey, I'm making a joke, you're supposed to laugh. Because like Nikki said, they had the laugh track for a bit, which I didn't mind it, but it wasn't necessary. It's not like the writing was good enough that like it's okay, you don't need to tell us when to laugh. And clearly they realized that, so they quit. They didn't keep going with that, and they didn't need to. So more appreciation for where Scooby started, because if he hadn't started where he did, we would certainly not be talking about it now, because he'd have stopped existing a long time ago. He would have fallen by the wayside just like everything else that tried to be him. But the people that made Scooby made him what he is, and they just did such a stellar job, especially in Where Are You? It might not be my personal favorite series, but it is clearly the best series. And there's no one is going to argue that with me. It is the best series, and season 1, it's perfect. It is perfect. It just is what it is.
I didn't choose anything from season 2 because looking at the list, yeah, I do feel like season 1 had the best episodes. Was Scooby Doo and a Mummy 2 from season 2?
No.
Or was that season 1?
1.
Okay, then we chose all episodes from season 1.
Yeah.
Sorry, season 2. We still like you. You're just not top 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mystery Mask Mix-Up was my runner-up, though. It almost made the list, but it just couldn't compete with the others.
I did have a really hard time trying to figure out what my top 5 was going to be. And I'm like, don't base it on villains, because that's not just what the episodes are about. I mean, there's some great villains, but it doesn't mean that everything in the episode is great. So I watched a lot of Scooby 2 times, like at 2 times speed. So they sound pretty funny when you watch it like that. But I was able to watch a lot of Scooby doing it that way. So yeah, season 1, it's great. And I'm still saying What a Night for a Night is the best episode. And Joel, I agree with you that people do tend to watch that one a lot, and I think they find it to just be overplayed. But it's the beginning, and there was so much in that episode that I think it was the best. Yeah. We're gonna wrap things up. Before we do, let everyone know where they can find you on social media. Wendy?
On Instagram, I'm Wendy Bridge. Twitter X, Wendy Loves Jesus, and my blog is wendylovesjesus.wordpress.com.
Joel?
You can find me on YouTube. Just type in Planet Scooby.
And you can find all my links on ScoobyAddicts.com. Let us know what you think about our lists. Let us know your top 5. And thank you for joining us for another Scooby Panel. Thank you for tuning in to another Scooby Panel. I'm Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com. If you like these panels, please subscribe to my channel for more great discussions. A huge shout out to our patrons, Julie Rosen, Ross from ScoobyFan.net, Tagus, Garrett Spencer, Paul the Scooby Dude, and Jesse. If you would like to support the Scooby Panel, please go to patreon.com/ScoobyAddicts. A very special thank you to artist, blogger, and Scooby collector Wendy Bridge, and Joel from Planet Scooby. Scooby Panel is available in podcast form on most podcast platforms, or as a web series on YouTube. You can find Scooby Panel on Instagram, Facebook, and X as @ScoobyPanel. We are part of the Collector's Maze Network, where you can find all things geek. Scooby and Shaggy were voiced by Scott Innes. Check out Scott's website, onescottshop.com. Scooby Addicts artwork by Will Davenport. Scooby Panel logo by Garrett Spencer. Video editing by Nikki Blake. Music composed and performed by Bovine Nightmares. Please join us next time for another Scooby panel.